going to start by briefly looking at the paper entitled Managing the Development of Large Computer Systems, written by Dr. Royce in the 1970s. This paper is really Royce's view and experience based on several years of working in the industry. It starts with some basic ideas, concepts and steps for the process of software development, by describing this process as simply analysis followed by coding. He then builds on this by adding requirements, design and testing phases. Then, at the start of page 2, boom, the diagram we all know as waterfall. At some point this view of development was given far too much emphasis, and whomever did that failed to read on beyond this diagram. As you can see, Royce himself identifies this approach as risky and that it invites failure. In fact, further to that, he goes on to discuss issues at some length and points out some of the inherent costs and complexity of leaving testing right till the end. So, we knew this didn't work in 1970, so why are we still doing it now?
So, I want you to consider this dramatic reading in the context of a development team or developer and their view of a waterfall approach. I can't stand it. I know you planned it. I'm going to set it straight, this Watergate. I can't stand rocking when I'm in here, 'cause your crystal ball ain't so crystal clear. So while you sit back and wonder why, I've got this giant thorn in my side. So those words, in that given context, almost fit. You can see the plight, the two sides. Those are actually the lyrics to the song Sabotage by Beastie Boys. And from a development point of view, dates and Gantt charts and pressure to finish quickly is just that. Sabotage. If we reverse that, exactly the same can be said of how project managers view developers. They see the pushback on not being able to provide estimates and timelines as the same thing, sabotage. The reason for the inability to estimate is lack of information. We don't know enough about how we're going to do something to be able to tell you how long it will take. For example, if I gave you a kit car and said how long will it take you to build it, you having not done that before will find it very difficult to give an estimate. In software, the only things we're able to give an estimate, a true 100% guaranteed estimate for, are the things we've already done. The problem is, if we've already done them, why would we need to do them again? So going back to that kit car analogy, some people would think, well, there are people out there that build kit cars and they can build another kit car. Well, that's possibly true. We've written software and we've probably written some of the things that we need for whatever the new thing is before. It would be like taking all the parts from a Lotus 7 replica and being asked to build that into a Cobra replica. There are a few of the components in those two vehicles that are the same. They're both two-seaters, they both have four wheels. But it's not going to be a simple task to make all that look like something else. This suggests that the core of the problem with the waterfall approach is information, or more to the point, the lack of depth to that information when you start the project. Having one discovery phase right at the beginning where you try and map out everything we need to know to write that application or piece of software or feature means it's inherently flawed because we don't know enough at that point. We only find things out down the road. And in a waterfall approach, that's too late. might say, how is Agile any different? Well, in an Agile approach, yes, we do some of that initial analysis, and we do some of that initial, dare I say, estimation. But at that point, the only real answer in an Agile process to how long it will take is, I don't know. That's the only honest answer. As we move into the development of that software, we give transparent feedback and an opportunity to change direction or change the scope. So we might find, during our first iteration, that things are really going well and our estimate might have been bang on. But that doesn't mean we're definitely going to finish on that date, or are we committing to that date. As we move through iteration, we get a better idea of where we are, and transparent feedback allows project managers or development managers to take things out of the scope to allow us to better fit the timescales that would be required. It also allows us to deliver value before we've finished the whole thing. Why should value to the end user or customer only come when we've completed every single thing that was specified? Because we honestly don't know whether all those things we thought we'd need at the start will actually be used or useful. The Agile approach gives us the opportunity to get rid of the things that really aren't that valuable and do the things that are valuable sooner. A waterfall approach, or project attitude, is often adopted by a business that sees all aspects of IT, especially development, as a service or cost centre, rather than a value-adding stream. The relationship between the business and development can be compared to a 007 movie, where 007 is a development resource and the business is the villain. In this classic capture scene, project management take on the role of henchmen. The business abdicates a grand plan with a brief that has flawed depth based on assumed complexity. Then, by leaving developers in a darkened room and just assuming all went to plan, the henchmen end up taking the fall for delivering what was asked for, but not what was needed, and for losing control over those developers. The business, like the villain, never got what they assumed they would. In this scenario, nobody wins. One of the biggest problems with a waterfall approach to development is it's basically insane.